Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Sasuki Fujin transmigrated into the Naruto world part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. In the most famous building in Konoha, an old man, smoking with a smoking pipe, was staring out of the window. Behind him was a table full of papers, which needed his signature. Hiruzen Sarutobi, however, continued to stare out of the window at the 4th Hokage's monument. Today was exactly a year since Konoha had to face the Nine Tails assault. Hiruzen finally let out a sigh. Konoha suffered the most losses of any village in the Third Great Ninja War due to having to fight every village. And merely a year later, they had to face another assault which not only killed the 4th Hokage, but also a lot of their ninjas and civilians. This not only increased the burden on him and the existing ninjas but also caused Konoha's orphanage to be overpopulated. Hiruzen sighed again, finally starting his day by getting that damned paperwork done. In one such orphanage, Sasuki Fujin, a 5-year-old orphan, was sound asleep. Suddenly, however, he got up, screaming in pain while holding his head and falling unconscious. The scream woke up his fellow orphans, who alerted the caretaker. A few hours later, Sasuki Fujin woke up, but still under intense headache, thinking, damn, what the heck's up with this headache? While I did stay up late at night working on that project, I haven't ever suffered such a headache. And it feels like memory is all jumbled up. Slowly he opened his eyes and looked around, frowning upon noticing the unfamiliar surrounding. What is this? Where am I? This ain't my room. He tried getting up, but suddenly noticed, why am I so much smaller? Did I somehow return to the past? However, his thoughts were broken by 2 kids walking into the room. They suddenly ran towards him and one asked Fujin, "Are you all right?" Whereas the other one asked, "Why did you yell?" Fujin saw them too, thinking, who are these 2? Wait, I think I know them. But how? Damn, this headache is unbearable, and I need to get my thoughts sorted out somehow. With that, Fujin pretended to fall unconscious again, trying to make some sense of the situation. The 2 kids, however, got worried and ran back to the caretaker. While he pretended to be asleep, he started to gain access to new memories. Memories of Sasuki Fujin. It took 5 hours of gaining clarity, an insufferable headache, and disbelief for him to understand. Fuck. I transmigrated, and into the fucking Naruto world of all places. But how? I don't even remember dying. Don't you need to die to transmigrate? And damn, transmigrated from that safe world with rules and regulations into this deadly world full of cunning and powerful ninjas. And I got transmigrated into a fucking civilian of all people. After a few minutes of disbelief and ranting, he finally calmed down and decided to understand and plan his future. He thought, alright, I guess I'll be known as Sasuki Fujin from now on. Unlucky fellow to lose his life to someone transmigrating into him. I wonder how that even works. Anyways, I got a lot of information from his memories. His parents seemed to have died in Kurama's rampage and he was incredibly lucky to live. And damn, after being admitted into the orphanage, he was examined by Root to see if he can be taken in. Lucky me that they didn't choose him. Since Kurama's attack took place a year ago, and since he is 5 years old, it seems I'm 4 years older than Naruto and his generation. Alright, that gives me more time to train and gain power. The Uchiha massacre should occur after around 7 years, the Konoha crush after 12 years, and Pain's attack in 4th Great Ninja War after 16 years. Wait, what's this feeling? At that moment, he felt a weird energy flowing through him. He thought, is this chakra? His memories didn't have anything related to chakra. So does it mean that chakra was unlocked when I transmigrated into him? Finally, some good news. With this, getting into the Ninja Academy should be easier than other civilians. Though I wonder how my chakra level compares to the chakra level of others. Anyways, probably better to get a look at the surroundings first to understand more of this place. With that, he finally stopped pretending to be asleep and woke up. After getting up, he could see that it was already evening. The watch showed that it was 6:30 p.m. He also noticed that he was incredibly hungry. He thought, I haven't eaten anything all day, no wonder I'm so hungry. I need to grab something to eat. I also need to act like a kid. I hope no one notices any change in me. He walked to the door and heard a couple of noises outside. On opening it, he saw those 2 kids playing with each other. He recalled that their names were Sakai Aikai and Aoki Daisuke. Both were good friends with Fujin and also shared the room. Aikai had lost his parents in the Kurama assault too, whereas Daisuke had lost his during the Third Great Ninja War. Looking at Fujin, their faces showed concern, and quickly ran to him. Daisuke asked, Fujin, what happened? Are you fine now? Nodding his head, Fujin confirmed, yeah, I'm fine now. Sorry about that. Had a terrible headache. Aikai said, "Oh, that's a relief. We were worried about you." Right at that moment, a growling sound was heard, and all three kids looked towards Fujin's stomach. Fujin looked embarrassed and said while rubbing the back of his head, "Guess I'm very hungry," and Aikai remarked, "Figures, you've been sleeping all day." Daisuke then put his arm around Fujin and said, "Well, let's go to the mess and see if there's anything there." All three kids started to make their way to the mess. On the way, quite a few kids gave Fujin a curious look. A couple of them also asked how he is doing now. Fujin analyzed. "I guess they all heard about me screaming and falling unconscious." Fujin recalled from his memories that there are over 250 orphans in this orphanage. Fujin wondered, "I wonder if Naruto is in this orphanage too." On reaching the mess, we saw the caretaker. Her name was Seiya. She was a middle-aged woman and also very friendly. Upon seeing Fujin, she quickly approached him and inquired about his health. Upon hearing that he was all right, she felt relieved. She informed Fujin, "We were very worried about you. We called a doctor to check on you, but he didn't understand what was wrong with you. I'm glad you are fine, but you still have to get checked up once again." Fujin nodded and replied, "Thank you. But right now I am very hungry. Is there anything I could eat?" She nodded and replied, "Yes, the dinner has been prepared. Though there's still some time for dinner to be arranged for everyone, I'll arrange the food for you." Then Seiya prepared a plate for Fujin, while Daisuke and Aikai went away to play. Fujin started to eat thinking, the food's okay. Not very tasty, but it's alright considering that it is an orphanage. It seems that we are given 3 meals here: morning breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Also, lots of fruits are available to eat. Sadly, meat isn't provided here. Still, the nutrition provided here should be alright, so I could probably get some training done without having to worry about food. Anyways, I should fill myself up. After finishing the food, Fujin retired to his room. Falling back into his bed, he started thinking, well, what a day. Though it's rather tough to act as a kid, luckily no one noticed any difference in me. It's good that there aren't any ninjas in the orphanage. Guess I need to think about what to do now. Now that I'm here, I don't want to be a no-name cannon fodder. And my knowledge about future events also gives me a great edge. So how exactly should I proceed forward? With that, Fujin started to think about all the possibilities for him and what he should do. Upon analyzing for half an hour, he finally came to the conclusion, alright, though I know the future events, without having enough power, all that knowledge is worthless. Not to mention, there's no guarantee that things will progress exactly as they did in the manga. It had too many plot holes anyways, and providing someone else with this information is a strict no. They'll just throw me to the T&I department, or in an even worse case to Danzo. It will also change all future events, depriving me of my advantage. So I suppose planning for future events can be left to the future and will depend on how much power I have then. Right now the main focus should be on improving my power. So how to go about it? Well, for now, normal jutsus are out of the question. Normal civilians don't get access to jutsus, so jutsus could only be taken from the academy. And I can only attempt to join the ninja academy next year. Even though I know about many jutsus and know what they can do, I don't really remember the hand signs for them. The only jutsu whose hand signs I remember is the shadow clone technique. Sadly, it's a jounin level technique and dangerous enough to be classified as forbidden. Not to mention, knowing those hand signs itself won't be enough. I guess the hand signs made the chakra move in a particular manner or display some properties which allow those jutsus to be completed. Until I gain that knowledge, attempting hand signs would be rather pointless. That said, I could try jutsus and training that don't require hand signs. Rasengan, training for elements and chakra control can be trained. Since I have unlocked my chakra control exercises would be crucial to do. The only issue is that I don't want anyone else to watch me doing them. I guess I can try to do leaf concentration over the next year. Tree climbing could attract a lot of attention. And with a village full of ninjas, it's impossible to ensure full privacy. Luckily, the first and second stages of Rasengan training can be done in privacy, and so can the first stage of elemental training. Apart from that, I should try to improve my body. Heck, this is probably the most critical. While my physical condition ain't bad, it's not very good either. So I should start with light exercise to build up stamina and power. I wonder if I could do something similar to Master Roshi's training, and it would be incredibly helpful if I can catch Guy's attention. Oh well, let's see what happens tomorrow. Hopefully, at least this headache will be gone by tomorrow. With that, Fujin finally went back to sleep. On waking up the next morning, Fujin looked out of the window to notice that the sky was still dark. He thought, damn, I woke up really early. Seems like it's just 5 AM yet. Oh well, I basically slept the whole day yesterday. Little wonder I woke up so soon. Anyways, I suppose I'll have to make a habit of it if I really intend to get strong. On the plus side, the damned headache has finally gone away. He got out of his bed to notice that Aikai and Daisuke are still fast asleep. Not expecting little kids to wake up anytime soon, he freshened up and got out of his room. He then walked out of the orphanage building. The orphanage had a decent-sized playground for the kids towards the north side, whereas on the east and south sides it had a lot of trees that looked sort of like a mini forest. It seems that Konoha has a lot of such mini forests throughout the village, and many such areas were used as training grounds for ninjas. Luckily or unluckily, there wasn't any such training ground in the vicinity of the orphanage. The western side had residential areas and a market a few hundred meters away. Fujin thought the forest could potentially provide me some cover and privacy. While it's probably not the best place, it does provide me with an option to do some secret training. Other than that, I'd also need to see if and when I could have my orphanage room all to myself. Anyways, I suppose I should start with some warm-up and see how much this body can be pushed. Finally ending his train of thoughts, Fujin started to stretch his body in order to loosen up the muscles. After around 10 minutes of stretching, he started to run around the playground. In his estimate, the circumference of the playground was around 100 meters. He was able to complete the initial few rounds with ease but soon started getting tired. After pushing himself to the limit, he was able to complete 28 rounds around the playground. Taking deep breaths, he thought, wow, I ran nearly 3 kilometers. There's no way I could have run even a kilometer at 5 years old in my previous life. And I don't recall this guy doing any exercises before I took over his body. I wonder if it's due to the bodies of the people in this world being much stronger, or if unlocking my chakra made the body stronger somehow. I'm guessing it's the former as I just unlocked chakra yesterday. Alright, I'll take a short break and get back to it. After taking a short 5 minutes break, he continued his exercise by doing push-ups. He managed to do 2 sets of push-ups, each with 12 reps. It was followed by sit-ups, for which he could do 4 sets of 15 reps, and lastly, he did pull-ups, of which he could only do 8 reps barely. This exercise did push him a lot, but he didn't push them to the limit as it'd have been detrimental to push the body to its limit suddenly. Done with the exercise, he returned back to the orphanage, had a bath, and put on new clothes. He returned to the room to see that it was 7:30 a.m., and his roommates were still fast asleep. He thought, interesting, I wonder when they wake up and if the time they wake is consistent. If they wake up only at 8, when breakfast is provided, then it could potentially give me the opportunity to practice leaf concentration early morning without letting anyone know. I should observe them for the next week to confirm it. He sat down in his bed and took one of the leaves he had brought up while coming back from his morning exercises. Staring at it, he thought, there are 5 basic natures that can be mastered: fire, wind, lightning, earth, and water. In order to know my nature affinity, I'll need that chakra paper. But either way, all 5 natures can be mastered by every ninja. In the 4th Great Ninja War, Shikamaru had every ninja perform the Earth style, Earth Wall Jutsu. This implies that the most basic jutsus of the 5 natures could be used directly without mastering the element like how Naruto did. However, it'll be even better if all 5 natures are mastered. That would allow more powerful jutsus of all those elements to be used. Given how proficient Hiruzen was, I guess he had mastered all 5 natures mastered. I do wonder what my nature affinity is though, as that element would become much easier to master. If I were to choose, my first preference would be lightning. It provides deadly attack, and if I could somehow replicate the way the Raikages use the lightning to boost their speed, power, and defense, then I'd easily reach cage level in strength. The next preference would probably be water. While I ain't a fan of water nature, Konoha should have the legacy of Tobirama and his water-style jutsus. If access to them is gained, it can boost my power to cage level 2. The remaining 3 have their issues. While wind style is very deadly and versatile, there isn't a single cage level character who reached that stage thanks to his wind style jutsus. The only one I can remember is Danzo, and he was just ridiculous in that fight against Sasuke. Then again, becoming the first ninja to become cage level by using wind style sounds fun. Earth style has good jutsus too and is probably the best nature after lightning, but almost none are used by Konoha ninjas, so getting access to them will be tough. While for fire style, though fire style had a few jutsus that seem to be very powerful, it seems that almost all of them are very easy to dodge. The only top-tier fire jutsu I remember is Amaterasu, which I sadly can't use. Only Madara's majestic flame destroyer seemed deadly and could be used by all, but I'm not sure if it'll be available with Konoha or not and whether a normal ninja could release that huge flame that Madara did. Still, I should be open-minded as there may be many more jutsus here than shown in the Naruto series. Either way, there's not much of an option right now. Of all the 5 natures, I only know the proper training method for wind nature as it was covered properly. The training for remaining natures will just be a wild guess for me, so probably best to delay their training till the academy starts. Until then, I'll master the wind nature, irrespective of whether it is my affinity or not. Fujin then channeled his chakra and tried to cut the leaf into 2. The training continued without any success for half an hour when a bell rang throughout the orphanage. The bell signified that breakfast was available. Aikai and Daisuke woke up as soon as the bell rang. Looking at Fujin sitting on the bed, Daisuke said, "Morning, you woke up early." Fujin replied, "Morning, I had slept too early. Probably that's why." Aikai then said, "Good morning, it's nice to see you ain't screaming today." Following which, both Daisuke and Aikai laughed at Fujin's expense. Fujin showed an embarrassed expression and replied, "Yeah, whatever, I'll head down for breakfast. Make sure you 2 sleepyheads come down before it's all over." On hearing this, both Aikai and Daisuke ran to grab their toothbrush. Over the next week, the same pattern followed. Fujin woke up early, did morning exercises, and noticed his 2 roommates only woke up when the bell rang. And whenever he had the opportunity, he tried to cut the leaf. He also added practicing punching and kicking in his morning exercises. He noticed that Aikai and Daisuke were mostly out playing with everyone else, so the room was empty most of the time. This was especially true after morning breakfast and a few hours before dinner. With that information, he finally started practicing the leaf concentration exercise in order to improve his chakra control during that period. Here, a leaf was placed on the forehead, and all his chakra is directed onto the leaf, using it as the focal point. Along with improving chakra control, it also aided in improving concentration. Fujin recalled Naruto remembering its importance while mastering Rasengan. Fujin not participating in playing with other kids was suspicious, but thanks to the fact that the orphanage was already overcrowded, no one paid much attention to him. The screaming and falling unconscious event was long forgotten. Only his 2 friends were upset that he didn't play with them much any longer. In order to prevent any more suspicion on him, while doing the leaf concentration exercise, Fujin used to sit on the bed in such a manner that his back faced the door. If anyone abruptly entered the room, he'd instantly stop the exercise and make the leaf isn't visible to anyone entering the room. Luckily for him, there wasn't much interference. Over the next 6 months, Fujin followed the same routine, his physical fitness, concentration, and chakra control steadily growing. He also noticed that it also resulted in a significant increase in his chakra reserves. Sadly, with nothing to compare, he had no idea how good or bad his chakra reserves were. On the physical side, he was able to run almost 50 rounds of the playground now. He was able to do 4 sets of push-ups with 12 reps, 5 sets of sit-ups with 20 reps, and 4 sets of pull-ups with 8 reps. He noted that it was much easier to improve physically here as compared to the previous world. When it came to wind nature training, it took him 3.5 months to successfully cut 1 leaf, and only after 6 months of nature training, he was finally able to successfully cut the leaf in one go without any issues. While it did take very long, it was understandable due to quite a few factors like Fujin just having unlocked his chakra, with him not having any shadow clones to assist or a great teacher to guide him. As he couldn't cut off a waterfall to complete the next stage, he just tried cutting tougher materials to improve wind nature further. He replaced the leaf with a small piece of wooden twig and then a branch which were lying around. One lucky instance happened in the 5th month he was in this ninja world. An old couple visited the orphanage and distributed a lot of water balloons in the orphanage. Such instances used to happen frequently. Fujin guessed that they probably were people who lost their children in either the war or the Kurama assault. But this time it was very beneficial for him. Since he was an orphan and didn't have any access to money, it meant that he couldn't go to the market to buy water balloons to begin Rasengan's training. He took the opportunity to get a few water balloons and hit a few. With access to water balloons, he finally began stage 1 of the Rasengan training. While chakra shape manipulation was tough, recalling the way Naruto popped the balloon, Fujin was able to replicate the way to manipulate his chakra to apply pressure everywhere in just a couple of days. However, he wasn't able to pop the balloon. He thought, I guess my chakra reserves are too low. I should be able to pop it if I can use more chakra. Oh well, no point in worrying about it right now. But it's probably a good idea to keep practicing this as it'll help improve my skill at shape manipulation. A couple of months later, Fujin became 6 years old and eligible to attempt entering the Ninja Academy. The entrance exam for the same was still 2 months away. Upon inquiring further about the entrance exam and its contents, he understood that the entrance exam was rather standard. It was mostly centered around the physical fitness of the candidates, and they inspected their chakra to decide whether the candidate has the potential to be a ninja or not. Fujin was rather confident in clearing both, so he wasn't much worried. He just continued his usual routine, though he added throwing wooden shurikens to his training routine. In the afternoons, he started to go into the mini forest. He marked tree stems and tried to hit them accurately with wooden shurikens. This was done in case they added shuriken throwing to the entrance exam. Sadly, the orphanage didn't have any shurikens to borrow, and being an orphan meant that Fujin had no money to buy them. So the wooden shurikens were made from small branches of trees in the forest by using wind nature to cut them. The carving of wooden shurikens also helped to increase chakra control while using wind nature. Still, the shurikens weren't perfect, but that was the only option he had for now. Fujin also had another idea. He thought, I have all the basics down, so passing the entrance exam shouldn't be much of an issue. However, I wonder if I should start attempting to improve my physical capabilities by aiding them with chakra. I know that chakra could be used to boost speed by concentrating chakra into the legs. Similarly, the power of punches can be increased by gathering chakra in your fists. I need to experiment on whether I could do more push-ups and other exercises if I do them while using chakra to assist those exercises. With those thoughts, Fujin began his experiment. He noticed a significant rise in speed and power when using chakra to perform those activities. However, there were many issues. The first being that it was too inefficient and a lot of chakra was being wasted. The second issue was that it required a lot of chakra, something his current reserves couldn't handle. So Fujin decided to modify his morning exercises. He decided to keep doing what he has been doing so far, but once he was done with it, he repeated his exercise, only this time doing them with the aid of chakra. And this benefited him immensely, increasing his physical capabilities and his ability to use chakra, and also noticed a rise in the speed at which his chakra reserves grew. He began wondering why his chakra reserves suddenly started growing at a faster rate. Upon analyzing, Fujin came to the conclusion, I think that it is rising due to the fact that I've been exhausting my chakra on a daily basis. Each time I do that, it probably increases my chakra reserves slightly. If my analysis is right, then currently I have two means to increase my reserves. The first is to increase it with a combination of physical exercise and meditation. And the second method is by exhausting my chakra to its limits over and over. I wonder if there are any other means as well. Around 2 months after Fujin turned 6, the academy entrance exams were conducted. Waking up early, Fujin freshened up and prepared to leave for the academy. For the first time in 10 months, Fujin hadn't done his morning workout. He waited for Daisuke and Aikai to get ready as they too were planning to participate in the exams. In all, around 7 boys and 2 girls from his orphanage were taking the academy exams this year. They all left together, along with the caretaker Naruto from the orphanage. On reaching the academy, all the kids were surprised at the vast number of children that had gathered to take the exam. A girl named Naomi exclaimed, "What? There are hundreds of participants here." Naruto then said, "Probably over 1,000. Last year there were over 1,600 kids attempting the exam. However, only around 360 were selected as all the kids looked at him." Fujin thought, I didn't expect this. So many participants and so many selected. I guess Konoha is trying to fill the void left by deaths during the Third War and the Kurama assault. Oh well, it doesn't really affect me in any way. On looking around, Fujin saw some groups within the crowd that wore Konoha headbands. Naruto, looking at Fujin, commented, "They are trained ninjas from various clans in our village and are probably accompanying their children. Probably all of them will pass the exam." Hearing that, all the kids tensed up a bit. Looking at that, Naruto chuckled and attempted to cheer them, but you shouldn't worry so much. The majority of participants aren't from clans, so you have a good chance to pass. Just give it your best. The other kids nodded nervously. At that time, someone wearing a Chunin vest approached the crowd and announced to the crowd that exams would begin shortly and all kids were to gather at the training ground behind the academy. After coming to the back of the academy, Fujin's whole group took a look at the Hokage rock, which had the faces of all 4 Hokage carved in it. Everyone was awestruck by it. Fujin thought, while I did see it from a distance, up close it looks magnificent. I do wonder if it serves a bigger purpose than just something that looks good though. Inside the academy, in a conference room, a few Chunins, most of whom were teachers at the academy, were sitting and discussing the entrance exam. A Chunin then got up and gave a report to the one leading the meeting. Naruto looked at that report and sighed. Post the Third Great Ninja War, the Third Hokage had assigned him to supervise the entrance exams, and he was told to pass as many students as possible as Konoha had lost thousands of ninjas during the war. He was promoted to a special jounin post-war due to his contributions. He sighed again and thought, what a drag. Looking at the report, he found that this year, 2147 children were participating in the entrance exam, around 30% more than the previous year. He thought, oh well, first let's just eliminate the physically unfit ones, and gave the assigned Chunin the signal to start the exam. Doi Masashi was the one assigned to the first phase. He announced loudly, everyone, the first phase of the exam will begin. You have to run 5 laps on the path marked in the training ground. Each lap is around 500 meters. Everyone will be monitored during this run. I will run in front of you and you will have to follow me. With that, he disappeared and appeared on the track. Everyone reached out to where he was. Masashi started running and everyone followed. Fujin thought, well, this seems very simple. I could run this many on the very next day I transmigrated here. And after 10 months of training, yesterday, I managed to run over 8 kilometers and could push myself to over 10 kilometers if I used chakra. Everyone completed the first 3 laps, however, slowly a few started dropping out. By the time 5 laps were completed, everyone in Fujin's group, except Fujin himself, was tired. 1 girl and 2 boys couldn't complete the 5 rounds. Masashi announced loudly, all those who couldn't complete the 5 laps are eliminated. They are to return to the front of the academy and can return to your guardians. He continued, among the ones still left, you have 2 options. The first is to run another 5 laps. If you don't think you can, then return to the front of the training ground and wait there. Many decided to return to the training ground, but a few hundred still continued. In Fujin's group, only Daisuke and another guy, Tatsuya, attempted it. After compiling the data, Naruto noted 438 participants couldn't complete 5 laps, and only 257 attempted to do the next 5 laps. Among the 257, 241 participants completed the 5 additional laps. The ones who couldn't complete the laps were sent to the group of students waiting in the training ground. For the remaining 241, the same 2 choices were provided again. Only 21 participants decided to attempt another 5 laps. The ones who didn't attempt were sent back and gathered in a different group as compared to others who stopped after only 5 laps. Fujin was now the only one left from the orphanage. Most remaining were from clans. All 21 were able to complete the additional 5 laps and they were placed together in different groups. Now the training ground was separated into 3 different groups. Fujin was glad that they weren't asked to do 5 more laps, or he may have had to back out. After that, more physical tests were conducted and more participants were eliminated. Naruto noted, all the 21 and 220 participants from the 2 groups passed, but many from the first group were eliminated. Only 636 from first group were still remaining. After the first phase was done, the participants were given a break and provided breakfast. After breakfast, the examiner for the second phase appeared. Fujin noted that he was from the Hyuga clan. He announced, in each of the groups, the ones who have unlocked chakra step forward. All except one from Fujin's group moved forward. In all, there were almost 100 kids who had unlocked their chakra. Everyone who was from a ninja clan had their chakra unlocked. Fujin sighed in relief as he saw a lot of civilian kids step out too. So him unlocking chakra won't be very eye-catching. The Hyuga activated his Byakugan and examined the chakra of the ones who stepped forward. He had to check for the amount of chakra and its quality. All 20 from Fujin's group passed. Of the remaining, 64 students were passed too, whereas others were disqualified. Then, a few Chunins then moved around and helped all the remaining students to unlock their chakra. Fujin was surprised. Wow, I didn't think they'd help everyone unlock their chakra. Konoha must be really desperate. That said, it's obvious that not all of the kids here will pass. So the direct effect of this move will be that there will be a lot of civilians who will have access to chakra. I wonder if these people serve some purpose, and how many more such people exist in Konoha. While the process of unlocking chakra was ongoing, Naruto was observing the situation. Looking at him, the examiner for the second phase, Hyuga Hakairo, walked to him. The Hyuga said, I'm surprised that the third ordered to have all these kids unlock their chakras. Naruto nodded and replied, yeah, he doesn't have much other option. We lost too much in the past few years. In the past couple of years, he ordered the training of the reserve genins to replace the dead. However, even that's not enough. And while most of the kids here won't become a ninja with chakra enhancing them, they'll help fill many other roles in the future. Honestly, I'm impressed by the efforts the Hokage took in order to ensure that so many kids attempted the exam. Even the capacity of the academy has been increased. Hyuga Hakaido replied, yeah, we just need a few years without any major conflict. Kisho dejectedly replied, yeah, but these exams are gonna be a pain in the ass till then. Hyuga Hakaido laughed, seeing the Nara's annoyance. The process of unlocking and examining the chakra went on for a while. It was evening when it got completed. In all, around 430 kids were passed. The remaining 447 kids failed and were asked to return to their guardians. The ones who passed were gathered together in the training ground. A few kids then saw that an old man with a smoking pipe was walking towards them. Fujin looked to his left. Oh, finally I'm gonna see someone from the story. To think that the first person I recognized would be Hiruzen himself. On seeing the third Hokage, everyone got respectful and serious. Most kids were surprised that he came to meet them. He looked at the kids and smiled gently. He began his speech. Congratulations to all of you for passing the entrance exams. And took a pause. All the kids were very happy and excited to finally enter the Ninja Academy. The surrounding Chunins asked for silence to be maintained and to let Lord Hokage speak. Fujin, however, thought, here it is, I guess I'll finally experience his legendary skill of influencing young kids. In my previous life, everyone talked about Naruto's talk no jutsu, but no one ever talked about how Hiruzen influenced Naruto to work hard and risk his life to protect the very people who made his life miserable. The third continued, now that you have entered the academy, we'll teach you the ways of a Konoha shinobi. We'll ensure that you guys become full-fledged shinobi of the Hidden Leaf Village. This academy was created by Lord Second Hokage. He himself taught a lot of students in the academy, including me. I still remember the fun and battles we had in the academy. The ninjas who pass out of the academy all ensure that our village stays safe and peaceful. They ensure that you stay protected. And soon it'll be up to you to carry forward that will. The will of fire, as Lord First Hokage used to say. Now you will be the ones who will carry the will of fire in you. Love your village and ensure that your will of fire preserves peace and prosperity. Carry on the will of fire in you brighter than anyone else. And let every other village know that the will of fire still burns brighter than anything else. Have a mind that will not yield, able to endure hard training and work. And be healthy in mind and body. And with that, I welcome you, future ninjas, to our academy. As soon as the speech ended, the excitement that was bubbling within the kids finally popped and all started celebrating. The day was finally called off and everyone started to return home. After reuniting with his fellow orphans, Fujin found out that only 4 kids passed. Even Aikai failed. Only Fujin, Daisuke, Tetsuya, and Naomi passed. Momonosuke comforted the ones who failed, mentioning all the other things they could do when they grow up. And all of us returned to the orphanage. There were still 3 days for the academy to open. However, those days were busy for the Fujin and other orphans who passed. The orphans who passed the entrance exam would no longer live in the orphanage. They were provided with a small apartment in the residential areas which would be rent-free until they became a ninja, and would also be provided with a small stipend to support themselves. Fujin thought, oh, I didn't know about this. I knew Naruto lived alone later on, but I thought he might have been given special treatment due to his circumstances. I do wonder what the aim is of asking us to live alone. I guess the main advantage I can see is that this way we would be better prepared if we had to go on a solo mission outside the village. After packing up what little clothes he had, he got out of the orphanage and looked back at it. He saw that Daisuke was very sad and even crying as he and Aikai won't be together any longer. Fujin thought, well, it's not really like I developed much relationship with anyone here. Naruto isn't in this orphanage, so there's not really much point in staying here anyways. All 4 orphans were accompanied by the orphanage caretaker to their new apartments. After dropping the other 3 off, Fujin was the last one to reach his apartment. He thought, so this'll be my new home for the next few years. The apartment was properly cleaned and very neat. While the rooms were small, they were more than enough for him. It had a small living room, a bedroom, a very compact kitchen, and a washroom. There weren't many gadgets in the home apart from a fridge, cooking stove, and other stuff needed for cooking. There was also a sofa in the living room and a bed and an alarm clock in the bedroom. He also saw a first aid kit. He thought, oh well, this is pretty neat. The bed's better than the one at the orphanage. Also here I should have much better privacy, so I can use the whole day to train in some way or another. I do wonder what food will be available here. They did say that someone would come here around noon and deliver the food for today as well as the stipend. Anyways, finally getting access to money will be convenient. I ran out of water balloons a month back, so racing and training has been on hold. I need to buy them. Also, I should definitely try Ikaraku ramen. Like heck, anyone who watched Naruto wouldn't want to try it. I also need to fill up the fridge. We won't be provided with breakfast from now on. so I should at least buy some eggs, bread, and milk. Ending his train of thoughts, Fujin set up an alarm for 11:30 a.m. and began practicing leaf concentration. At 12:15 p.m., there was a knock on the door. Fujin opened the door to see an academy teacher who was monitoring the exam yesterday. He introduced himself as Adachi Genki and said that he'll be Fujin's class teacher for this year. He asked whether Fujin was comfortable here and if there were any issues. On confirming that everything was all right, he said, "That's very good to hear. I saw your performance yesterday. You did very well. Keep it up." Fujin replied, "Thanks." After that, he provided Fujin with his stipend and then provided him with a few ration bars. Fujin looked at those bars and asked, "What's this, sensei?" Genki smiled and replied, "These are ration bars. You'll consume one for lunch and dinner. There is enough here for a week. From here on though, you'll have to collect the ration bars yourself from the academy every Sunday." Fujin looked plainly at his sensei as if to say, "Really? Freaking ration bars?" Genki saw the look and said dismissively, "Don't look down on them, kid. That's the food of ninjas. They were created after doing a lot of research. Even the legendary Sanins, Tsunade and Orochimaru, worked on this. They provide a ninja with proper nutrition. So take pride that you are eating food specially made for ninjas." Fujin saw his sensei explaining to him as he would explain to any small kid. In order to not make his sensei suspicious, he acted like a kid, first showing confusion and then being a bit prideful that he was eating food made for ninjas. Genki smiled and took his leave. On his departure, Fujin sighed. He wondered, which moron is responsible for providing food to orphans? Seriously, a ration bar. No wonder all Naruto ate was ramen. Oh well, whatever, it should provide the necessary nutrients and is easy to preserve for a long time. And I definitely need to learn some cooking. No way in hell am I eating ration bars for years. He then counted the stipend given to him. There were 1,000 ryo provided to him. He thought, well, I know that ryo is the currency here, but I don't know whether this is a lot or not. I just kept training and didn't even ever go to the shopping area near the orphanage. I really need to go out and understand the prices here. I also need to find out the costs of shurikens, kunai, senbin, swords, explosion tags, scrolls, and other important stuff. Though I suppose there's no need to worry about that just yet. The most immediate thing to buy would be chakra paper. He ate a ration bar. While it didn't taste bad, it didn't taste good either. He noted that orphanage food definitely tasted better. After that, he left his apartment, locked his door, and went out. After asking for a bit, he found the marketplace. There he went around checking the price of various stuff. He found out that 1 dozen eggs cost 24 ryo, 1 liter of milk cost 9 ryo, and a packet of bread slices cost 5 ryo. 1 kilogram meat costs 60 ryo. Various vegetables and fruits cost in the range of 10–20 ryo. He thought, I see, the 1,000 ryo are more than sufficient if used just for this stuff. He looked around and also found a weapon shop. A set of 6 shurikens cost 2,000 ryo, whereas kunai cost 1,000 ryo each. A set of 6 senbin cost 1,000 ryo, and swords were much more expensive, their price varying depending on the quality. He thought, these are expensive. I'd have to save for a long time to afford these. After that, he asked the shopkeeper whether they had chakra papers. The shopkeeper nodded and Fujin bought one for 100 ryo. Finally ending his short trip, he bought a dozen eggs, 1 pack of bread slices, 1 liter of milk, a few fruits, 12 water balloons, 3 rubber balls, items for daily use like soap, toothbrush, and paste, and so on. He spent around 80 ryo on that journey, and he wouldn't have to worry about breakfast for the next few days. On reaching home, he channeled his chakra through the chakra paper. The chakra paper split right through the middle. He sighed, it ain't lightning. Well, whatever, wind is pretty good too. Also, I've already started training in it. The next day, the training continued, but in the evening, after asking a few strangers, he finally reached Ikaraku Ramen. Tuchai became the second canon character Fujin saw. He ordered miso ramen, which cost 45 ryo. After eating it, he thought, wow, it tasted delicious. Still, 45 ryo is pretty expensive for me currently. I won't be able to visit here frequently. Satisfied with the food, he returned back to his home. Today was the day the academy finally started. Fujin woke at 5 a.m., freshened up, and went through his morning workout. After completing it and having a bath, he ran to the academy. The academy started at 8 a.m. He was assigned to Class 4A on the 4th floor. On entering the class, he saw that quite a few had already arrived. There were over 25 students already in there. He entered and sat on one of the unoccupied benches. He noticed that most of the people here were from the ninja clans. They wore the crest of their clan on their backs. Fujin wondered, this classroom ain't big, at most 40 would fit in. Does that mean there are over 10 divisions in my year? At 8, Adachi Genki-sensei arrived. He first distributed identity cards to everyone. He then introduced himself. On arriving, he introduced himself, "Welcome to the academy. I'm Adachi Genki and I'll be your class teacher this year. How about we get to know each other first? I'll tell you guys more about myself. I'm a Chunin of Konoha and fought in the previous Great Ninja War. My hobby is watching drama and I like to teach young kids like yourself. How about you guys start to introduce yourself?" And with that, all the kids started to introduce themselves. The ones from clans telling their clan with pride. Fujin took the opportunity to understand the composition of his class. The class had 30 kids. Apparently, there were 2 Uchiha, 3 Hyuga, 2 each from Nara, Yamanaka, and a Kimichi, 3 in Yuzuka, 1 a Burame, 1 each from Sarutobi, Shimura, Kato, and Hadate clans, and surprisingly 3 from Senju and 2 from Kurama clan. The other 6, including Fujin, were normal civilians. After the students were done talking about themselves, Genki started talking again. He said, "Alright, first I'll explain to you about your position. This year 430 students passed the entrance exam. However, you 30 are the ones who have scored the highest. That's why everyone has very high expectations of each of you guys. All of you have to strive to become very good and strong shinobi. That's why an elite like me is assigned to your class. In addition, other teachers too would assist you when required. You will also be provided access to the Academy Library's E and D sections. Also, there will be special tests conducted for you guys every 6 months, which will be monitored by Lord Hawkage himself. So work as hard as you can." Everyone was filled with pride after this speech, and also became a lot more attentive. Fujin thought, "Lucky me. This seems like an elite classroom. I guess I can have any queries resolved quickly. Also, those 2 sections in the library, I guess should be sections having rank E and rank D jutsus. I wonder if there are sections with higher ranked jutsus, and whether I can sneak in. Well, I should give it a proper tour soon." Since this was the first day, Genki gave them a tour of the academy. They were shown all the classrooms, the library, the training grounds, canteen area. On training grounds, various areas were shown like a running track, obstacle race track, shooting area, balancing area which had a lot of poles, and so on. There was also a small pond at the far end of the training grounds. After the tour was over, they went back to the class. Genki explained to them what they'll be learning this year. It seemed to mostly be basics. They were supposed to be taught about chakra, hand signs, chakra control, taijutsu, theory of jinjutsu, and shuriken throwing, along with normal stuff like mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, language, history, geography, and civics. After that, the class was dismissed for the day. After the class was dismissed, Fujin left quickly and headed toward the library. However, on the way to the library, he ran into Daisuke and Tatsuya. Daisuke called out to him, "Hey Fujin." Fujin turned around to see him. He said, "Hey, how are you doing? How was the class?" Daisuke replied, "It was fun. We took a trip of the whole academy." Fujin replied, "Yeah, so did we. By the way, how many students are there in your class?" Daisuke replied, "Oh, there are 100, ain't that the case in every class?" Tatsuya joined in the conversation saying, "Yup, it is the same in my class." Fujin said, "I see. No, in mine there are only 30 students." Daisuke said, "Why's that?" Not wanting to make him feel bad or have to answer more questions, Fujin said that he wasn't sure. After that, Daisuke asked whether Fujin wanted to go home with them. Fujin excused himself saying he had some work. Separating himself from them, Fujin started to go to the library again. En route he grabbed a ration bar and ate it while thinking, "I see. So my class has just 30 students, whereas the others have 100 each. So in all, there are 5 divisions. If I were to guess and look at what all Jinx said today, our class is probably being trained in the hopes that everyone either becomes a Jounin or at least an elite Chunin. Whereas for others, the main target seems to be to boost the Genin reserve and if lucky have a few Chunins and Jounins from there." On entering the library, he showed his card to the librarian and asked for directions. After getting the info, he understood that the library is divided into 7 sections. It had a general section having non-ninja related information, Section 0 where there was basic information related to ninjas, and Sections E, D, C, B, and a Sections A, B, and C were restricted for me right now. Fujin thought, "I see, makes sense. There isn't any S section. But that's understandable that they won't put that high-level jutsus out in the open. To be honest, I'm surprised that there is Section A anyways. Let's go explore it." Fujin skipped the general section and started from Section 0. He skimmed through the titles of various scrolls to get an idea of what was there. He found a lot of basic but important stuff. Information related to chakra theories, chakra control, manipulation, nature manipulation, fuinjutsu, Genjutsu, and Taijutsu were all mentioned here, so was a lot of historical information. He then went on to sections E and D. There most of the scrolls were just rank E and rank D jutsus. He thought, wow, I didn't expect this. There are literally hundreds of different jutsu scrolls here. A lot of wind-style jutsus are available too. And Section E has a scroll called Introduction to Fuinjutsu, whereas Section D has a better book on the same. This would be very helpful. It took him more than a couple of hours to just skim through the titles of various scrolls. After that, he went back to Section 0 and grabbed a scroll named Introduction to Hand Signs, and went to an isolated corner and sat there. There were very few people in the library, so there wasn't anyone to disturb him. Fujin thought to himself, alright, I have seen through the majority of the stuff. Now that I finally have some resources, I need to do planning as to what I should do at least for the next couple of years. In a corner of the library, a small kid was staring at a scroll he had opened in front of him. However, unknown to anyone who watched him, his mind was working on something else entirely. Fujin thought, alright, let's first start with what I can do right now. My chakra control is pretty decent thanks to the daily leaf concentration exercise. I should attempt something along the lines of tree climbing soon. My chakra reserve also has been developing consistently thanks to a combination of physical exercises and meditation, and also due to consistently straining my chakra to its limits. My chakra shape manipulation is going well too. Once my chakra level increases, I should be able to proceed further. So my plans for chakra control, chakra shape manipulation, and increasing chakra reserves should be good enough, though there's no harm in getting more means of increasing my chakra reserves. The most important thing I have in my arsenal is my wind nature manipulation training. I have already completed leaf cutting months back, and though I didn't attempt waterfall cutting, I have progressed further as I can now cut branches with rather ease. This much should be more than enough to perform many wind-style jutsus, and since my own affinity is also wind, it becomes all the more important. That said, I do wonder if I can make my wind nature more potent by trying to cut tougher materials, maybe like a stone next followed by metal. Oh well, I'll experiment later. Anyways, one thing I definitely need to do is learn a bunch of wind-style jutsus. I should read up every rank E and D wind-style jutsus in this library, and try to learn the useful ones over the next year or two. Preferably try to find wind jutsus that would allow me to form a good combat system that can allow me to defend, attack, and evade. Apart from this, I also need to learn an additional element. Fire, lightning, earth, and water. Which one should I focus on? On analyzing for a few minutes, he thought, alright, lightning and wind isn't really the best combo, so lightning's out for the time being. Fire and water can combine very well with wind, especially fire. But I'll need a shadow clone to use it effectively. And anyway, this is the land of fire, so my teammates are very likely to have this element anyways. That leaves earth. I don't think wind and earth combine. However, I can stick to using wind style for offense and earth style for defense. I hope this library has that jutsu that Kakazu used to harden his body. With that jutsu for defense along with wind style for offense should be a very effective and annoying combination. Alright, I'll choose earth as my second element, and I'll keep working on it for the next few years to master these two elements. Other elements can wait till I'm able to pull off multiple shadow clones successfully. Apart from that, basic justice should be learnt as well. Normal clones don't provide much help in combat, but they should at least serve as a base for shadow clones and elemental clones. The transformation has a lot of uses though, from disguise to transform into weapons. Substitution is the most useful of the three, and something I'll keep using even if I became as strong as the cages. So I have to give special focus to substitution jutsu. Alongside this, I'll also have to learn and master shunshin jutsu. Those two techniques will be vital for evasion and running away. Perhaps more than wind-style jutsus, these two will be more critical to master first. Yeah, this should become a good combat system. Wind-style jutsus to attack, earth-style jutsus to defend and substitution, and body flicker to evade. The next to work on would be taijutsu. My daily morning workout has ensured that my physical capabilities are top tier among the current students. Sadly, I can't grant any more time for it, so I guess I'll have to increase the difficulty of the workout somehow. Perhaps weights or some seals. As for taijutsu, the academy teaches its own taijutsu style. I should check that out before planning further. As for genjutsu, I can't work much on it right now. Let's leave it for the future. That leaves me with kenjutsu, medical ninjutsu, sensing capabilities, and fuinjutsu. Medical ninjutsu can wait. Kenjutsu is important to me. I will need to learn how to channel my chakra through weapons and charge it with wind nature. That would make my offense very lethal. However, this can wait for the time being too, as I won't have to fight anything soon. Fuinjutsu is something I can work on now. With the books for basics available, I should see whether it is suited for me or not. Sensing is pretty essential too. I'll probably need the assistance of academy teachers to understand how to become a good sensor. While I haven't tried it yet for safety issues, I believe focusing chakra in the eyes, nose, or ears should heighten those senses a lot. However, what I'm more interested in is sensing chakras. That ability should be very helpful when I'm out of the village. So let's see. The academy is open from Monday to Friday, with holidays on Saturday and Sunday, and it runs from morning 8 a.m. to afternoon 3 p.m. Mornings are assigned to physical workouts. I get 2.5 hours for it. In the future, the practice of taijutsu forms will have to be included here as well. During academy lectures, most training can't really happen. But I wonder if nature's transformation can be worked upon. Something like leaf cutting can easily be hidden under the desk. I need to check what's the initial training method for earth nature, and see whether it can be done in class. Though I hope that Genki ain't a censor, otherwise he'll catch me and forbid me from doing it. From 3 to 10 p.m. I have time to train. I can eliminate 1 hour from there for traveling and eating and other miscellaneous stuff. That leaves me 6 hours to work on basic jutsus, wind jutsus, weapon throwing, fuinjutsu, sensing chakra, and meditation. Clearly not enough time. So what to do? And he fell into deep analysis again. After calculating for some time, he came to the conclusion, alright, of all these things, meditation is compulsory to do daily. For others, there are basically 2 options. One is to do these things on different days, and the second is to only focus on a few of these. While the first option sounds tempting, the issue is that with me trying to learn so many different things, would cause me to be less focused on everything and might be detrimental to me. For instance, with me practicing so many things, trying to learn 8 inner gates from Guy might be impossible as it requires strict dedication to taijutsu. Fuinjutsu is also a major issue. It should be a very vast concept with a lot of theories to focus on, which will take a lot of time to learn. It's probably for the best to only learn it after I can make shadow clones. Sadly, this would mean I can't make some easy money by making and selling explosion tags or storage scrolls. Among basic jutsus and wind jutsus, for the time being, let's put focus on basic jutsus. Once I have got those down, I'll start to focus on wind style jutsus. So for the next few months, the time after the academy should be spent on mastering those basic jutsus, shuriken and kunai throwing, sensing chakra, and meditation. I currently have no idea how to sense chakra. I'll have to dig up theories in the library and consult Genki. That'll also allow me to know whether he is a sensor or not. For weapon throwing, let's just wait up until that class is conducted. That way I won't increase any wrong habits I have and correct the form required while throwing them quicker. As for those basic jutsus, I can get them easily from this library. I just have to understand the theories behind hand signs and how to perform them properly. It should be covered in the academy soon, so hopefully it won't be an issue for long. With that, he stopped thinking for a bit and summarized everything he planned. He then thought, alright, this plan seems to be good enough for now. I should get the required knowledge from the academy soon and can always bug all the sensei if I have any queries. I wonder how strong I'll become after a couple of years of this training. He chuckled, finally starting to read the scroll he had taken. Fujin started reading the scroll. After going through the entire scroll, Fujin summarized, I see. The hand signs are similar to that shown in the manga. There are 12 basic hand seals that are mentioned. The hand signs actually help to mold and manipulate the chakra in a particular manner. However, that's only a help. The ninja still has to actively attempt to mold chakra in that manner. He sighed, this will probably take some time to master. Until this is mastered to acceptable levels, the practice of hand signs will be done instead of basic jutsu training. To master the hand signs, I'll first have to practice them, while simultaneously having to mold the chakra in the proper way. Then I'll have to try different seals one after another and change the way chakra is molded according to the respective signs. Only after being able to do that will I be able to start attempting any jutsu. Damn, this is gonna be tedious. Anyways, apart from the basic hand signs, there were also a few other hand signs. The scroll mentioned hand signs for all 5 elements and a hand sign for clones. Apparently, there were also other hand signs that aren't mentioned here. Oh well, at least the chakra molding part will require proper guidance, so I'll start after it is taught in the academy. And these are just the basics. Later on, I'll have to learn one-handed hand signs, reduce the number of hand signs required to perform a jutsu, and learn to perform jutsus without performing any hand sign at all. I recall quite a few characters were able to do hand signs with only one hand, and many had reduced the number of hand signs required for important jutsus to only one. While he was analyzing the hand signs, his class teacher Genki entered the library and saw him lost in the scroll. He silently sneaked behind Fujin to see what he was reading. Upon noting the content, he smiled a bit and made his presence known. "Hello, Fujin." Upon hearing that, Fujin suddenly turned behind to see, "When did he appear behind me? How long was he here?" Not having any answers, he sighed mentally. "I put my guard down, this is the ninja world after all. While he may only be a chunin, he is in a whole different league compared to me right now. Well, I suppose becoming a censor could help me to a great degree in such scenarios. Anyways, time to act like a kid and make a good impression. It'll be helpful if I can get more guidance from him." Though he thought of all that, it only required a couple of seconds. He acted to be a bit nervous and said, "Good afternoon, sensei. When did you come to the library?" Genki laughed and said, "I've been here for a while, kiddo. You were too lost in your scroll. So what's with your interest in hand signs?" Fujin tried to act nervous and said in his childish voice, "I heard that some of my fellow classmates are already able to perform ninjutsu. During the exam, someone was talking about an Uchiha who was able to breathe fire when he was only 4. I wanted to learn it too. That's why I began learning about hand signs." Genki was happy that a small kid was showing so much interest and dedication. He tried to comfort the kid by rubbing his hand on his head and explaining, "Aw, that was Uchiha Itachi. He is your senior by a year, and he passed the academy in just a year and became a genin. But don't worry about it, Itachi was an exception. He had already started training from a very young age, and it ain't breathing fire. Instead, he was using a jutsu called Fireball. You'll start using jutsus very soon too. Tomorrow I'll teach you all about hand signs, so you can practice properly tomorrow. Until then, don't try it by yourself. It can cause accidents, okay?" Fujin showed an excited face while nodding and said loudly, "Yes, sensei." However, Genki quickly said, softly, "This is library, keep your voice down." Fujin nodded again and softly said, "Yes, sensei." After that, Genki entered section B of the library. Fujin thought, "Oh, chunins are allowed in section B. Then again, I'm not sure if this is for every chunin or just a few. He did say he was an elite, so I guess he is an elite chunin, who is probably close to becoming a special jounin or a jounin. Well, whatever, at least my current impression should be very good, so that's some good news." And Fujin finally returned back to the scroll. He started to try and understand how chakra is molded with each hand sign and got engrossed in it again. After some time, he heard a door open. Fujin looked up to see Genki exit section B. He smiled at Fujin and exited the library. After trying to understand the hand signs a bit more, Fujin finally closed the scroll and returned it to where it was. He then grabbed the scrolls on Wind Nature Training and went back to the same spot and started reading. After reading it, he thought, this was a bit disappointing. All that is mentioned here is the leaf cutting exercise. Waterfall cutting ain't mentioned. Then again, it makes sense as not everyone will have Yamato make a bridge for them, and not everyone has Naruto's chakra levels in order to make that many clones. The remaining content is mostly about the benefits of leaf cutting exercise and precautions to take. The only useful thing is the deeper explanation of the hand sign for Wind Nature transformation. He then got up and exchanged the scroll for Earth Nature Training. This one was a bit more comprehensive. Fujin thought, alright, this one's more helpful. Apparently, there are 2 basic ways to master earth transformation. The first one is to crush a stone. This was similar to leaf cutting. And the second one was to mold clay into various shapes, harden it, and so on using only chakra. It makes sense. Most earth-style jutsus I remember were basically just moving a part of the ground above the surface. So clay molding will be very helpful. As for stone crushing, after crushing stones, I could try crushing boulders to increase the mastery of earth nature, whereas for clay molding, I could just increase the amount of clay. He then placed the scroll back, went to section E, and grabbed a scroll on the basics of Fuinjutsu. Upon reading it, he analyzed, alright, this doesn't sound too hard, though I guess the difficulty should increase a lot for later versions. But yeah, this sounds to be too time consuming. Best left for later. He kept the scroll back and started searching section 0 for sensor training. He found many that were based on improving the senses of smell or sight or hearing. After searching a lot, he finally found the one he was looking for, sensing the chakra of anyone in your vicinity. On reading it, he found out, I see. So every ninja has a chakra field around them, though not everyone is able to use it properly. However, sensors can not only use their chakra field but also expand their chakra field for hundreds of meters, and exceptional sensors can even expand it for a few kilometers. On the other hand, if this chakra field is retracted, then that can help in hiding from enemy sensors. As for training to be a sensor, the greatest obstacles are the other senses of a ninja. So while training, it is advised to shut down the sense of sight, smell, and hearing. Interesting. I wonder if I can shut down just 2 of them in order to train the remaining one. Good hearing, smell, and eyesight would be very helpful in this profession. The basic method is still meditation, but sort of done in reverse. Instead of meditating to cut myself off from my surroundings, I'll have to meditate in order to perceive my surroundings. Sadly though, I have no idea how to shut down my sense of smell, and also don't have any gadgets to stop hearing. So I'll require help here. I guess I'll somehow have to give Genki hints that I want to be a censor. Sigh. He finally kept the scroll and left the library. It was already evening. He thought, wow, I didn't notice the time at all. I guess I was in the library for over 6 hours. The library didn't have any windows at all. Makes sense, they don't want anyone sneaking into the library. Probably the walls are fortified with the help of Fuinjutsu to prevent Earth-style users from breaking in. He went towards his home and on the way, bought a small pack of clay for 5 ryo. The next day, again Fujin was the last one to arrive. He came in merely a couple of minutes before 8 a.m. Looking at everyone he chuckled, look at these kids, coming early to sit on the first bench. He went and sat alone on the last bench and removed a stone and placed it in the desk. Genki arrived at 8 and started the class. The first hour apparently was a lecture. Classified this lecture as a brainwashing session. Fujin observed the classroom. The 2 Naras were half asleep. The Akamichas were probably thinking about food. The 3 Inuzukas were too distracted with their dogs. One of the 2 Uchihas was very smug for some reason while the 2 Kurama girls were gossiping about something. Others were paying attention. The smug-looking guy was Uchiha Yori. It seems like he wanted to walk in the footsteps of Itachi as he was bragging a lot about how the previous year's best student was an Uchiha who was only 7 years old on the previous day. Apparently, both the Uchihas could already perform the fireball jutsu. Fujin finally stopped looking around. When Genki was writing something on the board, Fujin grabbed the stone with his left hand and started to train earth nature while keeping his hand under the desk. When he channeled his chakra, his whole attention was on Genki, to see whether he would notice and react. However, there wasn't any visible change in Genki's expression. Fujin thought, lucky, he ain't a natural censor, or he is ignoring me for some reason, though the chances of that are pretty low. Whatever, both scenarios are good for me. The lecture went on for an hour. Though Fujin paid some attention, the majority of his attention was on training his earth nature. After the brainwashing session was over, Genki started explaining to everyone about chakra, and then finally moved on to molding chakra with hand signs. Fujin stopped his earth nature training and paid full attention in class. The kids from the clans were however distracted. They had already been taught hand signs before they joined the academy. In that class, Genki taught everyone about 3 hand signs and made everyone practice them. He monitored everyone closely. After the lecture was over, he said that in the next 3 days, he'll be teaching them the remaining hand signs. After that, they broke off for lunch followed by a lecture on history. Senjuteru and Hugahana were answering a lot of questions asked by Genki in this lecture. Fujin on the other hand stuck to his training while pretending to pay attention in class. The week went by in a similar manner. Genki taught all 12 basic hand signs as well as the clone hand sign. He stressed the importance of learning hand signs properly, which Fujin noted was similar to the notes he read from Scroll yesterday, and asked everyone to practice them at home. Other than this, Genki also introduced everyone to the leaf concentration exercise. In normal lectures, Fujin kept practicing his earth nature training, but if he got bored with it, he used to try to use his wind nature to cut the stone instead of crumbling it with earth nature. In week 2, Genki held a class to throw shurikens. He first started with a competition between the students to understand where everyone stands. He also called a few other teachers to help him with this session. Most of the clan kids performed well. The best was tied between Uchiha Yori and Senjuteru. The other Uchiha, Aburame, and Shimura rounded up the top 5. Fujin was a bit startled by the serious attitude of Shimura Nabu. He thought, I guess Danzo got a root-like training program for the kids from his clan as well. Though Fujin had practiced earlier with self-made wooden shurikens, it was barely at an acceptable level. For starters, the difference in weights itself reduced the impact of earlier training. Out of 6 shots, he only managed to hit 1 on the board. Afterwards, Genki met up with each and every student giving them advice. When he reached Fujin, he said, alright, you have a lot of work to do on this. First, we'll start with your throwing form. Once we get that correct, you will improve quickly. Fujin nodded and allowed Genki to correct his posture. After Genki corrected him a few more times, after being satisfied with his throwing form, Genki moved on to the remaining students. Fujin took this training seriously and practiced it a lot. After that day, his time at the academy was divided into his shuriken throwing practice, which he did on the academy practice grounds itself, right after the academy ended. And after reaching home, he practiced the hand signs, molded the clay, and meditated. He tried sensing his environment in the previous week but didn't have any success at it, so that was left for later. The new thing that he started was that Fujin started to practice walking on the wall instead of leaf concentration. This was done as a substitute for tree climbing. Fujin noted that since the walls are uniform, wall walking should be easier than tree climbing. However, for now this should be enough. Walking on walls took a few days to learn. By the end of week 2, he pulled that off without falling down. The major issue he faced here was the shortage of chakra. He wasn't sure how much of that was due to better chakra control and how much was due to an increase in chakra reserves. After trying to analyze it a bit, he dropped the matter, assuring himself that it didn't matter as he was making progress anyways. During all those falls, he also learned how to flip himself in the air to properly land on his feet. After the first month in the academy, Genki taught everyone the academy's basic taijutsu style. It included a lot of forms and moves to make it a comprehensive taijutsu style covering all areas. However, for now, Fujin didn't concern himself with that. This taijutsu style was obviously way superior to everything he could do in taijutsu. He was quite surprised and thought, I didn't think the basic style itself would be so complicated and cover all aspects. It makes me wonder how much better Senju and Uchiha taijutsu styles are. And Hyuga taijutsu is obviously superior to even them. Then I can think about learning a more advanced form of taijutsu. This will take a lot of time, but luckily I do have a lot of time. After that day, the taijutsu forms got added to his morning workout as well. The taijutsu training in the academy went on for over a month just to teach the students everything about that taijutsu style. Fujin noted that the ones from Senju, Uchiha, Hyuga, and Inuzuka clans didn't learn the academy style of taijutsu. After the taijutsu lessons were over, the academy students were made to fight among themselves every week. And depending upon their performance and technique, Genki gave them tips or asked them to practice a certain form. Even these taijutsu matches were arranged as tournaments. Here Fujin did much better and was ranked 8th in the first tournament. Though his taijutsu style wasn't very good yet, he did benefit from having a stronger body. He wasn't very surprised by it. Ones who do would be rare exceptions, like Guy for instance. Even Rock Lee only started to work that hard after he became a genin. Hyuga Hoka ranked first in the first taijutsu tournament. He was followed by Senju Teru, Hyuga Hana, Uchiha Yori, and the third Hyuga. Shimura Nabu was 6th, followed by one of the remaining 2 Senju at 7th. Fujin thought, well, this is promising. Unlike them, I haven't had any proper training yet. As I train further, I should grow stronger and a lot faster than these guys. I suppose I am moving in the right direction then, I should just stick to it. Genki started to conduct taijutsu tournaments and shuriken throwing tournaments every week for his class. Fujin noted that no such tournaments were arranged for the other 4 divisions. In fact, in one of his encounters with Daisuke, he learnt that they hadn't even had a taijutsu class yet and are still being taught shuriken throwing and making hand signs properly. He thought, I guess they really are serious about developing this class properly. From what I heard, this was done last year as well, though they were incredibly lucky to have Itachi in last year's class. If they have similar expectations from this year, then they will be very disappointed. Then again, I suppose they won't expect a talent of Itachi's caliber so regularly. Ending the train of thought, Fujin looked forward towards the future, a bit excited to keep improving himself.